Hi guys, welcome back to my channel. I hope you're having a great day so far and welcome to today's video, which is going to be my April beauty roundup, where I'm sharing everything that I have tried throughout the month of April, giving you all of my thoughts, any updates, any further information following my reviews, as well as letting you know my thoughts on anything that I haven't got around to reviewing this month. It's been a busy month. There's been a lot to talk about. So without further ado, let's get started. So I'm going to be starting off with my book of the month, which was The Other People by CJ Tudor, who continues to become one of my all-time favourite authors. She's so good. I'm pretty sure by now that you guys are aware that I am like a crime, murder, mystery type of girl when it comes to my books. Sometimes I stray outside to some other genres, but it's rare. To be honest, I pretty much stick to the juicy whodunit kind of books. I think I have now read all of her books. I've just been catching up once I cottoned on to how amazing she is. And I'm currently reading The Gathering, which is her latest novel, literally just released like a week ago. I'd pre-ordered it and I'm getting stuck right into that one. It's juicy already. But The Other People, I don't want to give any spoilers because I would highly recommend this book to you. If you like a murder mystery, a crime solving type of book, then this is a great one. This is about I don't know how much I want to give away to you. I'm just going to tell you the very beginning, okay, because it was exciting. This is the thing about CJ Tudor, okay. I don't like to be bored. I've said to you guys before, I really love Stephen King, but my goodness, that man likes to take a third of his book to build, to get going, doesn't he? Literally every single time I pick up a CJ Tudor book, the very first page is gripping. It's no like, oh, here's Lucy and Lucy's life is, it's literally boom, Lucy's dead. That's how it starts off every time. It's very like, oh, we're straight in, we're diving in. There's no waiting. It's straight into the action and I love her for it. So at the very beginning of this book, a man is driving home to his wife and child who are waiting for him. He's driving along and he notices the car in front of him because it has a load of bumper like stickers stuck on the back of the car, and he's stuck in really bad traffic. And all of a sudden, this little girl pops up, like she's maybe in the boot, and she pops up and he sees her face for a second before she is like shoved back down by someone. And that little girl is his daughter who is supposed to be at home with her mum. And he obviously is shocked and concerned and he thinks, I'm seeing things, it can't have been her. He's trying to call home, nobody is answering. He gets concerned, he tries to follow the car and the car speeds off into the distance and a whole load of events follow that are shocking, gripping, exciting, amazing. Twists, turns at every step, never boring, never a dull moment. I loved it. And the finish, as always, with CJ Tudor, yes, you must read it. It's amazing. Now, I'm also going to include a couple of fashion items, not every month, but just whenever I feel like there's something I picked up this month that people need to know about, because in some way it solves a problem that I feel we collectively have, okay? So last month, I think it was last month, I told you about the bodysuits I'd found that were not a thong. Life-changing. Anytime I find something life-changing, I'm here to share it with you guys. So first things first, this jacket, which I picked up from Anthropologie, one of my all-time favourite places to get clothes. I have been searching, okay, I've been searching for the perfect spring summer transitional jacket. That's what I've been looking for. It's something very niche that I was looking for. I didn't want something that was baggy. I wanted something that could be smart casual, that wasn't sort of bulky, that wasn't going to make me too hot, that did not have to go over my head and mess up my hair. I wanted something easy that would go with jeans, so it can't be a denim. I'm not a double denim type of lady. And it was hard to find. I also didn't really want something that was black because, again, I wear a lot of black trousers and leggings sometimes. So again, black wasn't an option. I searched high, I searched low. And this is where I go. This jacket is literally the perfect spring, summer, even autumn jacket. It's so nice. It looks so put together, casual, but it's so comfy. You can drive in it. That's another thing. I don't want something I can't drive in because it's too stiff. This will go over a jumper if it's a chillier day, or just over a vest, and it looks so nice. You can wear it open at the front or zip it up. It also has a little drawstring at the waist, so you can tighten that up and make it a little bit more fitted. It is the perfect jacket for exactly what I was looking for. I will of course put a picture up because me holding it up is not very helpful, and I can't fit in the frame to show you. I'd be like this, and I don't think that's very helpful either, but this is what it actually looks like on a human person. I am a human person. You get what I'm saying. This is what it looks like. Shush. It's amazing. I was so happy with it. It's one of those things that you see a picture and you think, is it going to work? And when it arrived, I was like so excited, so happy, because it was perfect. Soft, comfortable, easy to wear, looks beautiful, but really casual at the same time. Love it. It's perfect. You get what I'm saying? Moving on. The next thing I want to talk about is this bum bag. Okay, now bum bags, I know they're not for everybody, and typically they're really not for me either. But last year when I went to Harry Styles' concert with my daughter, I spent the whole time thinking, I really wish, I wish I had right now is a bum bag, because I would not let go of that girl's hand at any moment. It's a lot of people. It's, a scary environment to take a young child. It was a lot, especially the leaving at the same time as, 100,000 other people. Obviously I had to hold her hand. We then bought merch, and they don't give you a bag. So I was carrying that. I also then was carrying drinks, and they won't let you keep the lid. So I was carrying around like 2 full bottles of Diet Coke without lids on, whilst trying to hold my child's hand and carry some 3 hoodies that I insisted on buying for everybody who couldn't make it to the concert. So in that moment, I was like, if only I had a bum bag right now, because I also had like my phone and my handbag that obviously kept falling off my shoulder. And I was thinking to myself, next time I go to a concert, I'm getting a bum bag. And the second time when I felt like I needed a bum bag, and it was, past the 90s, was when I recently went to Chessington World of Adventures. It's a theme park for the Americans. It's like a smaller version of, I don't know, what, Disneyland maybe. It's rides. There's not a lot of character stuff going on, but it's a theme park with lots of thrill rides. I went there and we stayed there for a couple of days and did all of the rides and all of that. Again, the time when I really don't want to have a handbag that you have to keep leaving, when you get on the rides in a little cage, and who knows if it will be there when you get off the ride or not. I don't want to take an expensive bag. We also went when it was a bit rainy. I didn't want to take a bag that I didn't want to get wet. You see where I'm going with this. Bum bag, perfect solution. So this is the Beis. Is that how you pronounce this brand? Beis? Someone tell me how you actually are supposed to pronounce it, because I'm not sure. Beis is Beis. I don't know. Tell me, please. That's the brand. It is so ideal. It's so perfect. It has one large compartment, which I put my phone in. I also put my power bank in there. And inside there, it has a card holder, which is attached. Genius. And it's also got a little mesh compartment in there. And then at the back, it also has another little zip. It was just the perfect size, not bulky. Most of the time I could keep it on the rides, but I didn't feel like I needed to, because I actually didn't mind sort of chucking it in, the baskets where you have to leave stuff while you're on the ride, because if someone stole it, it was, not a huge big deal. It's not especially precious to me. It was really comfortable to wear, not too heavy, not bulky whatsoever, easy to click on and off, but very secure. So I didn't feel like it was going to go flying through the air on a loop-the-loop. It was perfect, and I absolutely will be taking it and using this when we go to Taylor Swift in a couple of months. It's just perfect for concerts. Also, tip, I'm going to cheat the system. I saw someone saying take bottle lids with you, put them in your handbag or your pocket and take bottle lids, so when they confiscate yours for some unknown reason, you can just whop one of your own out, whack it on, Bob's your uncle. Moving on, I have a couple of other non-makeup related items. First up, this fragrance. This was part of my anniversary, my wedding anniversary gifts this year, and it's BDK's Pas ce soir Extrait, and I have been obsessed with this. I got a sample of this months and months ago, but when I've been on my low fragrance buy this year, I'm trying to not purchase too many fragrances. So I hadn't got around to purchasing this, I think just because it wasn't new and I was kind of prioritizing newer fragrances. And my husband was asking me about it. Obviously now I know why, because I loved it so much. And he was like, you haven't, you know, did you buy that fragrance? And I said, well, no, because I'm trying not to buy it more than 6 this year. And so happy anniversary to me. This is literally, I don't know why I didn't buy this. I think it's because at the time I used my sample and I know I loved it, but I think it might have been around Christmas. I got distracted is what happened, and I forgot how much I loved it. Oh my God. It's one of my all-time favorites, and it's such a perfect summer fragrance as well, because it's quite fruity and juicy, but it's also very sexy, and it manages to be sexy and juicy and fruity and kind of warm as well, and ambery almost, with little hints of fruitiness, little hints of gourmand as well. And it is just absolutely divine. I think this will probably be my new ultimate summer scent, because it's so sexy, it's so beautiful, it's very alluring. Okay, beautiful, beautiful fragrance, great performance, but it's not going to be too sickly or too much in the summer months, because it isn't a gourmand, it isn't overpowering, it's just perfect summer, sexy, tropical vibes. I absolutely love it. Speaking of fragrance, I also picked up, as you guys know, the Charlotte Tilbury Discovery set with all 6 of her fragrances in here. If you want to know all of my thoughts on all of these 6 fragrances from Charlotte Tilbury, I did do a whole video on them, my thoughts on every one of the fragrances in here. Nothing has changed. I've tried these back and forth a bit more over the last week, and I still have my ultimate favorite is More Sex. That's my absolute favorite. The only kind of new bit of information I have to add about these fragrances is I don't think I'm going to buy a full size of any of them. I don't, as I said in my review, love the bottles, and that doesn't necessarily make or break if I will buy a fragrance or not, but it doesn't sort of encourage me to do, because I don't love the bottles and I don't sort of really want to have the bottle. So that's one thing that's slightly stopping me. But while I am on my very low fragrance buy, none of these are especially wowing me amongst my collection, of which I have a lot of fragrances, and I have a lot of fragrances along the lines of my favorites from this collection that makes me think I need that. That's going to be a standout in my collection, and that's the only fragrances I'm interested in buying these days. I do not want any more perfumes unless they are really over the top special and I know it's going to really stand out in my collection and I'm going to use it a lot, then I'm not buying it. And there are some really nice fragrances in here, but just among my collection, I don't think there's any in here that I would really use a lot over what I already have, despite there being some really nice scents in here and some that I really enjoyed. None of them wowed me enough to become like one of only 6 fragrances that I want to buy this year. So that's why I won't be buying a full-size bottle. But if you want to know individual thoughts on all 6 of her fragrances, then check out my review, because there are some really nice ones in there. They're just not in my collection, what I already own, a complete standout that I feel I need a full bottle of, you know? Last item before we move on to the makeup, I found a new texture spray that I love this month. This is Umberto Giannini. Amazing haircut. I found so many styling products from this brand that are amazing, and it's a really affordable brand as well. I have previously been using the Oribe texture spray, which is very, very expensive, the opposite end of the spectrum price wise, and I saw this one in Boots, picked it up because I know the brand is solid and I've loved some styling products from there before, and I prefer this one to the Oribe. It's so good. It's a dry texture mist, so you can use it on dry hair, which I prefer. I can't be bothered with styling my hair wet most of the time. So I just use this to give my hair an extra bit of volume, because my hair is very flat and dead straight naturally. So, you know, if I've done some waves or I've got, you know, an updo or half updo and I just want a bit of body and a bit of volume at the root, or, you know, face framing, that's what I reach for. Just a little bit of a spray through the roots and then little bit of this action going on, and my hair is twice the size and it actually holds it as well. I love it. It smells beautiful and it's much more affordable than your Oribe, and I actually think it's better as well. Okay, now on to their makeups. First up, we have a new-ish formula from YSL. These are the Loveshines lipsticks, and I was sent a few of these to try in PR. This is shade 150 and it's possibly my favorite. I did love all the shades that they sent me. I've done a reel if you want to see them all on my lips. These are lovely. These are replacing / reformulation of the Volupté shines, which I always loved. I was just really hoping that these weren't going to butcher them, and they didn't. I don't notice a difference. They are a sort of medium opacity. They're not a full opaque lipstick with a really heavy pigmentation. They're a bit more easygoing, a bit lighter. I have on a candy glaze today, and I do prefer that formula personally because it has more colour and a lot more shine, but it is a lot heavier and thicker. These are much thinner, lighter on the lips, not as shiny, so it depends what you like as to which you might prefer, but these are beautiful. I've always loved the Volupté shines. I'm very happy they didn't ruin the formula because I loved it now. I loved it then. It's, to me, I can't tell a difference. I really like them. They have a really nice amount of shine and a nice easygoing amount of colour, perfect for spring and summer, very comfortable on the lips. Can't go wrong with a YSL lipstick. Next up, the Pat McGrath pink, baby pink version of her under eye setting powder. Now, I was a little disappointed with this just because, as I said in my review, it's not very pink. It's only a hair pinker than the white or the light colour. Now, I love this under eye powder. The formula is amazing, very light, very flattering, very smoothing and perfecting under the eyes. But if I put this side by side, one eye of the light powder and one eye of the baby pink, I actually saw Morgan Turner did that. She did one side with the light powder and one with the baby pink, and there was really no discernible difference. You couldn't really see a difference, and I was just expecting more pink and more of a brightening effect versus the other colours, and there really is no difference. So I think if you don't have any of these powders, then by all means you, I'm sure, will love this one. But if you already have the light, I wouldn't go out and buy the pink thinking it's going to be different to what you already have, because under the eye it is going to look the same. It's not pink enough really, in my opinion, to be much more brightening than the light powder. So it was slightly disappointing. I was just expecting more. But it is still that great, lovely powder from Pat McGrath that I have always loved. It's just the colour isn't different or special to me. Next up, these Fenty Demi Glow highlighters. I was a little disappointed by these. They are definitely less sparkly and glittery than her previous sort of single highlighters, but they are just quite heavy as far as the amount of base and colour to them, and they just are a bit too much for me. They are very smooth, but I think I was expecting a more natural highlight, something that is just more my cup of tea when it comes to highlight. And as you can see, they're quite blinding actually, and I can really diffuse it with a bit of work to get a more natural glow that I prefer, but I really thought this was going to be a really beautiful understated luminosity, and it is pretty full on glow, to be honest. So for me, I was a little disappointed. They were just not quite what I was expecting. They're just a bit too much for my personal preference when it comes to highlight, and it does take a bit of work for me to get it to look seamless and melt into the skin how I like my highlight to look. So yeah, just a bit too intense for my personal preference, but beautiful shade range. I love the packaging. It's just not my type of highlighter that I prefer personally. Next up, a couple of belters of bronzers came out this month. The RMS bronzer, this is the bronzer I have on today, and then of course we had the Armani Luminous Silk bronzer. I can't hold everything in my hands at the same time. The Armani Luminous Silk and the RMS. These are almost the same as far as the finish. I love both of these bronzers. I am wearing Tan Lines from RMS today, which is my favorite shade. When I did my ranking video, I did compare these and talk about the pros and the cons, because I just really don't have a favorite. I love them both equally. They are both absolutely perfect for what I look for in a bronzer, and I find the finish to be essentially identical. Very beautiful, smooth, glowing bronzer. No sparkle shimmer, don't exaggerate texture, very smooth and skin-like, melting into your cheeks. I love them both. This is the Armani. I have the shade 100, I believe. Yes, 100. And then we have Tan Lines from RMS at the top. So Tan Lines and then shade 100 in the Armani. So the finish I find to be pretty much identical. I do much prefer the Armani packaging, but I do love this specific shade Tan Lines. It has that neutral, that perfect neutral bronze that I absolutely love. The Armani, as you can see next to the RMS, it is warmer, but still an understated warmth, a natural warmth. So it just really depends on my mood on the day, which one I want to use, whether I want a bit more warmth or something a bit more sculpting. They are both my dreams come true when it comes to a bronzer. I absolutely love them. I'm in bronzer heaven this month. It just keeps getting better. Apparently this is the year of bronzers. We are just being spoiled. Next up, let's talk about this new Hourglass quad. This is the Golden Rose Edit, and it's a dream come true for me. It is all repeat shades, so the blush dim infusion is a permanent shade, and then everything else in here has been in some of their holiday palettes in previous years. So there's nothing brand new, but I will say this other blush that was in, I can't remember, one of their holiday palettes, my review will tell you, but this is Iridescent Rose. And when I did my review and swatched it, it is very different to the Iridescent Rose that I already had in my collection. It's not the same. They're not even particularly similar, to be honest. They're totally different. So I'm really happy with it. I like the bronzer and the highlighter as well. I'm wearing Dim Infusion today as my blush, and I just love this palette. Everything in here works so beautifully. It's just lovely for me to have something smaller without the finishing powders. Like I said in my review, this would be my preference, or a 6-pan without the finishing powders, just more blush, or maybe a couple of bronzers even would be delightful, because I just don't use finishing powder. So I love that there aren't any in here, and this is a bit smaller for travel, and I will use everything in here, whereas with the 6-pans I never touch the finishing powders. So you know, two of the pans out of the 6 are just not getting used, whereas in the 4-pan without those I'm going to use everything in here a lot. And I have been, and I've been really enjoying it. You know, you can't really go wrong with Hourglass powders. It's just whether or not the shades in there are your taste and will work beautifully for your skin tone. Everyone has been asking me whether the 6-pans that have released in the US are coming to the UK. They may well be here already by the time this video goes up. I would expect them to come here, but Hourglass is a little delayed typically to the UK, so it might be an extra couple of weeks. But there are no new shades in those new 6-pans either, so I won't be picking them up. I have everything in them already. This little 4-pan is just perfect for me. I didn't own everything in here, so having it in a more condensed palette was ideal for me. Next, let's talk about these Chanel cheek palettes. Oh, I love this so much. I mean, the fragrance, I literally opened this and there's a lot of fragrance in here, okay? That's the one drawback I've noticed so far. I've been using this more or less non-stop since it arrived into my life. I absolutely love it. I have now used it just swirled together, which is fine. For me, I want the blush. I want to apply the blush separately to the bronzer just because it stands out. I don't just want a swirled together. I like to have the more vibrant blush on my cheeks. So I prefer to apply these separately. It's very easy to do so. The pans or the slivers are certainly large enough to get a bronzer brush and a blush brush in there without really any problem. It's just the perfect little palette. I love this highlighter so much. Chanel highlighters have become some of my all-time favorites because they're just so understated, and the one in here is especially so. It's just so natural and it melts into the skin so beautifully. All of the powders are really soft but buildable, a very natural, just perfect summer cheek. I love it. I don't think I would travel with it because I'd be scared it would break. And I think these are limited edition, so that would be terrifying. But if you're a bit more, you know, of a rebel, of a daredevil than me, then it would be great for travel. You could also use this on the eyes as well. I love it. I was thinking about going back and getting the medium rose gold, but I just feel like, having watched lots of reviews, I don't think it's going to be different enough. It's really only the blush in there that is going to give me anything different to the medium coral that I chose. So I've decided to hold my horses. I know there's a lot of makeup to come over the next few months, and I don't really any longer feel like I necessarily need to go back for another shade at this point. I just don't think anything is different enough to justify picking up more than one for me personally. You know what's coming next, don't you? Next up, this is the Nars Afterglow Irresistible eyeshadow palette. I have bashed this palette to death. I'm so sorry about what you have experienced. It's the opening. I know I've said it 100 times. I find it almost impossible to open. Every time I have to try to open it for a video, I hurt my finger, I break my nail, I smudge my nail varnish. It's so annoying and frustrating. It hasn't got any easier to open, as it's being opened and closed multiple times now. That aside, closure and openability aside for a second, this is just a very done colour story for me. It's so unnecessary. I feel like there's very few people who love makeup left on this earth who this wouldn't be an unnecessary addition to your collection for. We just have this so many times, and we have it from Nars so many times, and Nars have great eyeshadow formulas. Actually, they're really underrated when it comes to their eyeshadows. I've had some amazing palettes from Nars that I love. This is just sadly not one of them. It's just very blah, very unnecessary, very repetitive of a colour story, and I'm crying out, I'm begging Nars to give us something different, because I know you've got great formulas. We've seen them. I want something new and different from you. I'm begging you. I've almost certainly been kicked off their PR list after this. If I haven't, fair play to Nars, because they can obviously take some criticism and some feedback, because I've definitely given them some. Whoops. Next up, I picked up a fair big chunk of Dior's summer collection, which is rather unlike me. I don't usually go this crazy for collections. Usually I will only pick one. I'm very fussy, I'm very picky, okay? I'm just not picking up everything willy-nilly about the place. But this Dior collection for summer really spoke. They were really clutching at my heartstrings, giving me what I want. Now, let's start off with the new shade of the Glow Maximiser. This is the Nude. This was for me, I don't want to say dud, that's rude and a bit much, to be honest. But for me, this is the least exciting item that I picked up, just because, as I said before, this is not my sort of cup of tea necessary for a highlighter, because I do prefer powder. Even a gelée to powder, if I can get it, is ideal. I don't really use cream or liquid products if I can help it. And I don't know why I bought this, to be honest. I think I got carried away, I got overexcited. And it's a nice shade. I just can't see myself using it very often, because I do just reach for my powder highlighters more often. I do love the peachy shade that I already got in this, because it gives me something different. You know, it's at that cheeky, that juicy, glowy cheek. It is a bit cheeky, if we're honest. It gives me something that's a bit, you know, highlighting blush, whereas this is just a straight highlighter, a nude highlighter. I might like this more in summer. We will see. But yes, I think it's less exciting than the peachy shade, because it is just a standalone liquid highlighter, and I just know I won't use it. I just know myself, I won't use it. This, however, this cheeky little, what is it? Bronzed Glow shade, new shade of their Backstage blush formula. This is so good. I love it. I know it's going to swatch actually swatched quite well, probably because my hand is still wet from the white where I wiped off the highlighter. These do not swatch well, but they look so beautiful on the skin. I love this shade. It's the perfect bronzed goddess shade for summer. I absolutely love a bronzy blush, particularly in summer, and this is just perfect. It has like a really subtle bit of luminosity to it, no sparkle or shimmer. It's not a highlighting blush, it just has a little bit of luminosity, a little bit of a glow, and I love it. It's just the perfect shade, very buildable, will work on a lot of skin tones. This is a very light layer, but it can absolutely be built up. It's just perfect again for travel. It's so diddy. You could fit 200 of these in your suitcase, I'm sure. I don't know why you'd want to, but if you did, I think you could do it. I'm rooting for you. Just a perfect addition, I think, to that line. And then I picked up 3 new shades of their lip products. First up, I don't know if this is unexciting to you guys, but I'm flipping excited about this. This is one of the new shades of their lip oil. I already am a big fan, a big lover of the Dior lip oil. I'm using it so much these days. My favorite shade previously was Cherry, but sometimes I typically reach for this when I'm like very minimal, if any, makeup. So those days where I'm using some of the Charlotte Tilbury tanning drops, a little bit of the UV Flawless filter, maybe I've done something to my eyebrows, little bit of mascara. That's the days when I reach for the Dior lip oil. And the Cherry is just maybe a little too much color, a little too like red for that minimal of a makeup. And then this new shade came along, and this is Poppy Coral, and it is perfect. I don't think there's any point in me swatching this on my hand because it's such a subtle amount of color, but it is the perfect lip oil shade. It's just a little bit of a sort of a coral tint to the lips with such a comfortable, juicy feeling. If you don't know, if you haven't tried these lip oils, they are as good as everyone says. I adore them, and that color, I have been using it almost non-stop on those sort of low, very minimal makeup days. It is perfect, exactly how I like my lips to look, really juicy, really makes them look very plump and full, with just the teeniest little your lips but better hint of a something, je ne sais quoi. Love it, my favorite ever shade. It's limited edition. I'm almost tempted to get. Is it limited edition? I don't know. Help me. If it is, I'm almost tempted to get a backup, which I don't think I've ever done in my life. I don't do backups normally, but for this, I might have to, because I don't know how I will ever live without it now. I also picked up 2 new shades of the Dior Addict that I love so much. Again, we have the Dolce Vita shade. So we have the Dolce Vita shade, the perfect summer orange, and we have the Nude Mitzah shade, which is the perfect, slightly deeper nude shade. Absolutely the 2 most perfect shades in my favorite lipstick formula. I love these so much. I never stop going on about them. I can only apologize, but these are 2 of my favorite ever colors in that formula. They're just perfect. What more could you need for summer? This is it. This is all you need. Covers all bases. Next up, let's talk about this new highlighter from Natasha Denona. The highlighter I have on the cheeks today. Would you Adam and Eve it? You probably would. Now, this is right up my street. I love this so much. It's so silky, so, what's the word? Understated, luminous, glow, lit from within. You can build this up. I actually did build this up a little bit today, or you can just use a very small amount and it will just give you light. It's so beautiful. This is much more my type of highlighter. It is fairly glowy actually for me, but still understated, still blends and melts into the skin like a dream. Doesn't stand out as like highlight stripe on your face. It just melts with everything seamlessly, incredibly smooth and flawless on the skin. Live for it. Next, let's talk about the Tom Ford Architecture Soft Matte Foundation. The foundation I'm wearing today, and I did use it on top of the Hollywood Flawless Filter from Charlotte Tilbury, which is my absolute favorite way to wear this. This is an amazing foundation. I love it, and I don't really love matte foundations, but over the top of the Charlotte Tilbury Hollywood Flawless Filter or the Dior Star Filter, and it is dreamy, dreamy. It wears unbelievably well. I've said it in my review. It's the longest wearing foundation I think I've ever tried. I love how flawless it is. It is a full coverage foundation, but I literally will use the smallest amount because it's very thin, watery texture, which is unexpected from such a high coverage, long wearing matte foundation. Typically they're thick and heavy, Estee Lauder Double Wear-esque, MAC Studio Fix. That's kind of the texture I'm used to for that type of foundation. This is thin, watery, liquidy foundation, and with either a brush or a sponge, especially applied over the top of something like the Hollywood Flawless filter from Charlotte Tilbury, you get a really natural sort of medium coverage. You can easily build it up, but it is so flawless and perfecting. It's so smoothing, so flattering on lines and texture and all of that, and it just is so beautifully flawless. Yes, you're not going to look like you're not wearing makeup. It's not a barely there type of foundation, but it does have a very natural skin-like finish to it, and it wears, like I said, an absolute dream. Such a good foundation. Hideous price point, I totally agree. Does anyone need to spend £120 on, is that how much it costs? That sounds wrong, but I think it's right. It can't be. It is. I'm so sorry about it. You absolutely don't need to spend £120 on a foundation, but I don't think you'd be disappointed if you did and that was in your budget and you tried it. I think you'll be wowed just like I was. But if you want something similar for a third of the price, go for the Hourglass, which I absolutely love. And I may even prefer to this one. This one is just longer wearing. It does wear much better than the Hourglass, but is that worth £80 to you? Only you can decide that, I guess. Next up, let's talk about this new powder from Laura Mercier. So I was sent this in PR, which I was very excited about because I haven't received PR from Laura Mercier for years. I don't know what I did, but I did something and I got kicked off, and now I'm back and I'm very excited about it. I probably shouldn't have said any of that, and now I'll be kicked off again, but you know. What we're gonna do, I've said it now. This is a sort of product that I don't really ever use because it is very much a setting powder, really designed for all over the face use, not just under the eyes, which is the only place that powder ever goes on my face. And it's also absolutely perfect for touch-ups. And again, I never do touch-ups ever. The only thing I ever touch up with my makeup is my lips. I just, you know, put my makeup on in the morning, and that's how it will stay regardless of what's happening until the moment I take it off at night. I just don't really care to touch up. I can't be bothered. But this is so good if you are someone with very oily skin, or you do like to do a bit of touch up, especially with, you know, shine throughout the day. This is perfect for you because it has a really good size mirror that you can easily just, you know, use. You don't need to go into a bathroom or find a mirror somewhere that you can do your makeup in. The mirror is really nice and large, and it has this little cutie puff underneath, so you can literally just go. And this is, I would love to be one of the people who do this, because this feels very bougie to be like, I would love to be that girl, but I'm just not. I just don't do stuff like that, okay? I'm just not elegant enough. But if you are a Marilyn Monroe touching up in the bathroom kind of girl, I mean, touching up your makeup, what you do at work is your own business, okay? This is going to be like all of your dreams come true. I don't typically use products like this at all, but if you do, I feel like they've really nailed it with this, and the portability of it and everything is fantastic. It's a really nice, smooth, finely milled, silky powder, ideal for touch-ups and just keeping shine at bay and just toning down shine throughout the day. Really nice launch from Laura Mercier. And I'm really excited to see what they have next for us, because I feel like Laura Mercier are really coming back with a vengeance in 2024. I sense it. Next up, I picked a couple of bits up from Tom Ford's summer collection. Their highlighter in Nude Sand, and then one of their Ultra Shine lip colours in Peche Paradis. As I said in my ranking video, neither of these products wowed me. I really had really high hopes for this highlighter, but it's actually extremely yellow on me, and it's a little heavier and a little more metallic than I was expecting or dreaming of it to be. So I was a little disappointed in that. The lip shine I do like, but as I said as well, this colour was not quite what I was hoping for. It's a little more sort of red than it is peach to me. I just wanted it to be, I thought it was going to be a bit lighter and more understated, and it's really quite a bold sort of reddish orange shade, and I was kind of hoping based on the pictures that it was going to be a bit more of a peachy glow. Something a bit more like Dior's Coral Delight was what I was looking for. I love this formula, but this shade is just a bit darker than I wanted it to be or expected it to be based on the promo photos. But isn't that something that we just love to happen every time? And finally, let's talk about the Byredo Mineral Scapes eyeshadow palette. This is the palette that I'm wearing today. Today I used the matte shade, the transition shade in here, and then I used these two greens and a bit of this sort of yellow gold in the center. That's what I did. I didn't know if you cared or asked, but I've told you now. Do with it what you will. I feel like I've got a bit of an unpopular opinion when it comes to this palette because I do like it, but I don't love it. And I've really tried to. I really wanted to love it and I've really, really tried. I've used it a lot since I got it. I've used it a lot over the last few weeks since I've had it, and I've gone back and forth. I've really tried to get what I want, what I'm wanting out of it, and I just never quite can. I really like the look that I did today. This one. And I do like the looks that I get out of it, but I don't think I've ever loved a look that I've got out of it or really been wowed by it, and it never quite comes out how I want and wish it would. The biggest disappointment for me was with these purples. These to me on paper were exactly what I love and was sort of wishing and hoping for. Smoky purples really, really excited me. I was very excited to use these, and even in the swatches they are exciting to me and I really want to use these, but every time I use them it just comes out grey. And I don't really get any of the purple once it's on the lid. I also, as I said in my review, a lot of the shades, especially with the purples, are very close together in depth, so you can't really get sort of light and shade. Everything is quite even as far as the depth in here. You know, the same thing with the greens. They're all a very similar depth. It's hard to get a finished look the way that I like to do my eyeshadow anyway. Now the big negative of the palette is the fallout. It has some of the most fallout I've ever experienced from eyeshadow, which isn't a huge deal. I typically do my eyeshadow first, but it is a lot, so it can be a bit annoying and just quite messy. But I really wouldn't care about any of that if it was just really giving me the wow kapow factor that I feel like I'm slightly missing. And that isn't to say I still think the color story is amazing and it is a bit different to anything I have in my collection, which I really love. And I think the formulas in here are fantastic. That matte transition shade is one of my favorites ever. It's so easy to blend, so smooth, as are all of the shadows in here. The shimmers, everything's very, very smooth, blends like a dream. Really pretty looks coming out of this palette. It's just like, it's not wowing me. And I'm someone who either wants to do like nothing or go all in. When it comes to my eyeshadow, I'm either doing, you know, a little bit of a neutral in the crease and a bit of a creamy matte lid shade, or I'm going all in and I want like amazing wow factor eyeshadow. I very rarely do something kind of in between, and this is an in-between palette. It's very flattering, it's understated, it's easy to use and work with, it's got a lot going for it. Just my personal preferences, it's just slightly lacking. I wish the purples were more purple. I don't know if that's happening to everybody, but on me, I just can't get them to be purple on my eye. They just end up looking grey and a bit flat. And I'm missing a bit of light and shade between the depths of the shadows that are in the sort of same colour families. And I just want some, you know, the greens are just not very green. The purples are not very purple. The peachy shades are not very peachy. Everything is kind of very muted and understated as far as the colour payoff. And the amount of impact from the shimmers is just a little less than I personally love. It's a really nice palette. It's just not necessarily my absolute favourite, and it doesn't wow me as much as I really wished and thought it would. But I will say, I think it's an unpopular opinion, and everyone else I've seen using this absolutely loves it. Even most of you guys who have commented about this palette and who have it have been loving it and are absolutely wowed by it. So I think it's me. It's not you, it's me. Not you, not Hermione, it's me, okay? I've got to get on the chess, man. So yeah, I'm going to continue to use it. Like I said, I do really like it. It just hasn't reached love, obsession, delight is what I'm saying. Please forgive me. I'm so sorry. But there you have it. Those are all of my thoughts and updates on everything new that I tried in the month of April. I hope you enjoyed this video and found it helpful, and I would love to see you in the next one. Otherwise, take care for now. Bye 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 bye.